next to Joe is Denny Donnelly from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's our national director. Abby was nice enough to put it together with the help of some very good friends of ours. Pete and Mary Beth Crystal, our hairpin. Leo and Eloise Stalter, right over here. Where's Leo? Leo has Danny O stickers all the way down the front of the wheelchair. And Mike and Colleen McKenzie. Helping us out at the bar is a guy who tonight made a commitment to me that he would run for state director this summer. We're going to be in Columbus for the convention, and we will have 2 people running for office out of our division here. Mike McKenzie will be running for president, and Denny Parks will be running for director. So congratulations. I want to introduce a couple people real quick. My mom and dad are here tonight. Mom and dad, Jack and Jan O'Connor. My dad reminds me that in the office, I came in last. Since then, he has done the nominating speech and I've won. And he thinks that that's why, and he might be right. My sister Kathy's here, my brother-in-law Dave. I've been with Pat and Pete at the pepper truck, and last year Kathy came by and we had a couple beverages, and I said, "This is my sister Kathy." And then when Kathy left, Mary Beth, I think it might have been, or somebody said, "Is she's a nun?" I said, "No, she's my sister, Kathy." I think she was having a few beers, and that's why Mary Beth thought she was a nun. But my Uncle Ronnie and Aunt Mary Helen came in from Arizona and came over tonight. We've got a lot of entertainment tonight. And these guys are Callahan O'Connor. Of course, O'Connor's not, or Callahan's not here. He's like Dirty Harry. But he's the chief of police at the University of Akron. And Kevin is our equipment manager over there, and they so kindly stole Jim Trussell from us, and it really pisses me off. But without these guys and some of the folks that are going to play later, this wouldn't have happened. But a lot of people say, well, how did you come from Youngstown, Ohio and end up at national treasure? And there's a couple people here that I want to specifically mention, and some that aren't, or one that's not, and that's Monsignor Kelly. He was our chaplain, and he passed away a few years back. But when I became division president, we got things going in town pretty good in Youngstown. We grew up to about 175 members. And Father Kelly said, "You got to do more than this." And I wasn't sure what he meant. And then I met this guy. Well, Jeff Crystal is the one, and everyone knows of the Crystal brothers. Jeff's the one that got me to join the AOH. When I left the athletic marketing, before then I couldn't be a member because of my job. But Jeff said, "All right, you're out. Let's go. We're going to go join." And we joined. Well, then I met his brother Pat. And Pat said, "I'll go to the Foxwoods convention with you." And that was in 2002. And I was the division president. And I told everyone, I said, "Hey, we'll see you next week." We were hanging out a lot at the old Crystals at that time. I said, "I'll be around Monday." They said, "Well, aren't you going with Pat?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, you really don't have a chance coming home Monday." I said, "You don't understand, I'm driving." And they said, "Okay." So the following Friday, when we got back to Youngstown, because we went from Foxwoods, Connecticut to Providence, Rhode Island, home of Mackenzie Crystal, to Boston, to New York City, and I can't tell you the other places we went to. Well, Newport I can mention, but they were 5 days later than we were supposed to. So we were gone for 2 weeks instead of 1 week. So that was my first trip of many with Pat Crystal. But without Pat's friendship and his willingness to jump in the car with me, I would have never got interested in going beyond Youngstown. I mean, I thought that was a pretty big deal, and it was, to be the president of the local division. That same year, the movie Bloody Sunday came out in the States. And I don't know if you've seen it. It's on DVD, so you can see it. And me and a couple of people went and saw the movie Bloody Sunday. A couple of my guys that were my vice president and my treasurer locally. And when we got done, we went to this little bar right across from the movie theater, and we had a beer. And we finished the beer, and nobody had said a word. Mike Moore doesn't believe me, because he knows how I talk.
So do we.
But the movie kind of hit me. I was starting about what was going on and really getting involved. And right there at the table, I said, I'm going to Ireland for the Peace March. Who wants to go? And Dan McCarthy was with me. We went over to the Peace March. There's a guy that can't be here today, Jim McGee. A lot of you know him, a past state president. Jim is having a very tough battle right now with cancer. And I spoke to him today on the phone. I said, when was it that we were in Belfast together? He said, that was in January of 2003. That was the Friday night before the Peace March in 2003. My first Peace March. I've only missed 2 since that time. And we started talking about the AOH and getting involved. And Jim said, you know, you've got to run for state office. If you run, I'll run. And that's when we talked about me running for vice president. 2 months later, I came to Kenmore, AOH, Mark Heffernan Division. Kenmore, for those of you who don't know, is the old hall. And Kenmore was a thing in Youngstown. You learned that on the trip home from Columbus, if you were an AOH guy, your car automatically got off there. It was like a fueling stop. The bar was down in the basement. It wasn't near as nice as this building, but it was an important stop. And I went there on the parade day, and I talked to Mike McKenzie, and we talked about who was going to run for vice president. And on that night, I announced that I was going to run for vice president, and so did Mike. Where's Mike at? Mike's not in here, but Mike and I both decided we were going to run for vice president. And that was my first step at the office above division. And I thought it was so significant that it happened at this division is where it started. Now here we are tonight. Moving on from that, you know, as they say, the rest is history, but it's not. When I first ran for national office, directors elect 6, and I think there were 10 of us running, maybe 12, and I finished dead last. And that was important to me because I learned a lot up there. That was in Boston. And the next year, I was the 2nd or 3rd largest vote getter. And in Cincinnati, our own home state, I was 2nd to Jerry Cole by 1 vote. So it shows how well we came as a state in Ohio and how well we moved up. Of course, the results at this last convention really made the difference. But what made the difference was the people in this room and the Ohio crowd. I came from a family that gave me the tools to use. My parents put 5 kids through college. And I think, you know, we might even had almost an Irish twins in there. Not quite. We were about 7 days or 8 days away from being Irish twins. But 5 kids within 6 years, and every one of us went to school, and 3 of us ended up with graduate degrees. So they gave us the tools to serve, and then we had to make the choices. But based on going to Foxwoods with Pat, seeing the Bloody Sunday movie, and going to Ireland and deciding that I accepted the fact that we needed to do something about the English and what was going on in Ireland, we also had to touch base with our history. And that's what got me involved. And I'm very proud to be, and I didn't know until I saw the flyer, that I'm the first officer of this level from northeastern Ohio. We've had a few from Ohio, and Mike Coogan, who was one of our early mentors, was a national president. And with your help and with the grace of God, I'm in a position right now to move on to that over the next 8 years, and we're hoping that happens. But I wanted to thank you all for coming out. and I wanted to touch on two things to end. One is that what the AOH means to me, it starts with my family, and I had two other groups in my life that meant that were like family to me. And one was the guys I played football with. And Mike Moore is here tonight. He was a lot older than me, I think. Mike, stand up, Mike. Show them what I mean. Stand up, Mike. Mike Moore. Mike Moore and I were on the offensive line for the only championship team Hiram College ever had. And then there were the guys I played rugby with. I played rugby for 22 years. And Denny Getz is here tonight from the rugby team. Denny played rugby, and a couple other guys said they'd show up, but they're rugby guys, so they probably won't. And then there are the Hibernians. And it all started in Ohio when I ran for vice president, and everywhere I went, you guys made me feel at home. You know, we have a guy here that has an honor greater than mine. I'm blessed because of all your help, but Jack Charles, National Life Membership. Jack, stand up. Stand up, Jack. That's the highest honor you can receive as a Hibernian. Oh, I know that. And then finally is the person who, you can't be successful without great people in your life. And finally is Abby. Come on up. I talked to Jim McGee today, and I was in tears because Jim couldn't be here, and he meant so much. Without Jim's, the weekend we spent in Ireland, I wouldn't have moved on. And Jim means that much to me. I love the guy, and I had no problem saying that. And when I decided what to wear today, you guys know how conscious I am of how I look. Not always. But I chose a Derry shirt. And Derry's become a very important town to me. And that's because that's where Jim McGee and I decided that I was going to try and move up. And I didn't know to this level, but that's where he decided to live up. That's also a place that Abby and I were able to spend some time this winter when we were there for the Bloody Sunday tour. And without her love and without her help, I don't think I would have decided to move on beyond where I was. So thank you. So thank you. Have some fun. Have some beer. The Hiram guys said they really only came because of the free beer. And our favorite song is Dirty Old Town, and that's the third reason I wore the shirt. And that's a song truly about Derry. And when you hear this song, and at some point we're going to hear it tonight, maybe twice or three times, but we were at the gas yard, and so she knows what it's all about. Thank you.